American Soldiers in the Philippines Write Home About the War, Part 1. During the U.S. War in the Philippines between 1899 and 1904, which grew out of the Spanish-American War that erupted in 1898, ordinary American soldiers shared the nationalist zeal of their commanders and pursued the Filipino enemy with brutality and sometimes outright lawlessness. Racism, which flourished in the United States in this period, led American soldiers to repeatedly assert their desire to get at the, An anti-imperialist movement, which rejected annexation by the United States of former Spanish colonies like Puerto Rico and the Philippines, attempted to build opposition at home to the increasingly brutal war. Although few soldiers joined the anti-imperialist cause, their statements did sometimes provide ammunition for the opponents of annexation and war. In 1899, the Anti-Imperialist League published a pamphlet of soldiers' letters with the provocative subtitle, "Being Materials for a History of a War of Criminal Aggression." Historian Jim Zwick notes that the publication was immediately controversial. Supporters of the war discounted the accounts of atrocities as the boasting of soldiers wanting to impress their friends and families at home, or, because the identities of some of the writers were withheld from publication, as outright fabrications. But the brutal portrayal of the war that is found in these letters, excerpts from 27 of them that are included here and in the next video, is supported in other accounts. Source: Soldiers' Letters, Pamphlet, Anti-Imperialist League, 1899. Reprinted in Philip S. Fauner and Richard Winchester, The Anti-Imperialist Reader, A Documentary History of Anti-Imperialism in the United States, Volume 1, New York, Holmes and Meyer, 1984, page 316 through 323. Private Fred B. Hinchman, Company A, United States Engineers, writes from Manila, February 22nd. At 1:30 o'clock, the general gave me a memorandum with regard to sending out a Tennessee battalion to the line. He tersely put it that they were looking for a fight. At the Puente Colgante, suspension bridge, I met one of our company who told me that the 14th and Washingtons were driving all before them and taking no prisoners. This is now our rule of procedure for cause. After delivering my message, I had not walked a block when I heard shots down the street. Hurrying forward, I found a group of our men taking potshots across the river into a bamboo thicket at about 1,200 yards. I longed to join them, but had my reply to take back, and that, of course, was the first thing to attend to. I reached the office at 3 p.m., just in time to see a platoon of Washingtonians, with about 50 prisoners, who had been taken before they learned how not to take them. Arthur H. Vickers, Sergeant in the 1st Nebraska Regiment. I'm not afraid, and I'm always ready to do my duty, but I would like someone to tell me what we are fighting for. Sylvester Walker of the 23rd Regulars, February 20th. There has not been a night for the last 10 days we have not had fighting. Our force is too weak, and we cannot spare any more men, and will have to wait for more troops. Then we will have hard fighting, for there are so many that, no matter how many we kill or capture, it doesn't seem to lessen their number. Martin P. Olson of the 14th Regulars. We can lick them, but it will take us a long time because there are about 150,000 of the Dagos back in the hills, and as soon as one of them gets killed or wounded, there is a man to take his place at once, and we have but a few men in the first place, but we are expecting about 8,000 more soldiers every day, and I hope they will get here or we will be tired out and sick. This is an awful bad climate, and there have been from 2 to 4 funerals every day. The boys have chronic diarrhea and dysentery, and it just knocks the poor boys out. You mustn't feel uneasy about me, because I don't think there's a Spanish bullet made to kill me. It's the disease I'm most afraid of. Sergeant Elliott of Company G, Kansas Regiment. Most of the general officers think it will take years and a large force of soldiers to thoroughly subjugate the natives, and the unpleasant feature of this is that unless the conditions change radically, there will be few soldiers who will care to stay there. There's no use trying to conceal the fact that many of the men over there now, especially the volunteers, are homesick and tired of fighting way off there with nothing in particular to gain. There's not a man in the whole army now in the Philippines who would not willingly give up his life for the flag if it was necessary, but it isn't pleasant to think about dying at the hands of a foe little better than a savage, and so far away from home. And the thought of its not ending for several years is not an especially pleasant one either. General Reeve, lately Colonel of the 13th Minnesota Regiment. I deprecate this war, this slaughter of our own boys and of the Filipinos, because it seems to me that we are doing something that is contrary to our principles in the past. Certainly we are doing something that we should have shrunk from not so very long ago. Charles Bremer of Minneapolis, Kansas, describing the fight of Caloocan. Company I had taken a few prisoners and stopped. The colonel ordered them up into line time after time, and finally sent Captain Bishop back to start them. There occurred the hardest sight I ever saw. They had 4 prisoners and didn't know what to do with them. They asked Captain Bishop what to do, and he said, "You know the orders," and 4 natives fell dead. Captain Albert Otis describes his exploits at Santa Ana. "I have 6 horses and 3 carriages in my yard, enough small plunder for a family of 6. The house I had at Santa Ana had 5 pianos. I couldn't take them, so I put a big grand piano out a second-story window. You can guess its finish. Everything is pretty quiet about here now. I expect we will not be kept here very long now. Give my love to all." Fred D. Sweet of the Utah Light Battery. "The scene reminded me of shooting of jackrabbits in Utah, only the rabbits sometimes got away, and the insurgents did not." Burr Ellis of Frazier Valley, California. "They did not commence fighting over here, Cavite, for several days after the war commenced. Dewey gave them till 9 o'clock one day to surrender, and that night all left but a few out to their trenches, and those that they left burned up the town. And when the town commenced burning, the troops were ordered in as far as possible and said, 'Kill all we could find.' I ran off from the hospital and went ahead with the scouts, and bet I did not cross the ocean for fun there was in it. So the first one I found, he was in a house, down on his knees fanning a fire, trying to burn the house, and I pulled my old Long Tom to my shoulder and left him to burn with the fire, which he did. I got his knife, and another jumped out of the window and ran, and I brought him to the ground like a jackrabbit. I killed 7 that I know of, and 1 more that I'm almost sure of. I shot 10 shots at him running and knocked him down, and that evening the boys out in front of our trenches now found one with his arm shot off at the shoulder and dead as H. I had lots of fun that morning. There were 5 jumped out of the brush and cut one of the Iowa band boys, and we killed every one of them, and I was sent back to quarters in a hurry. Came very near to getting a court-martial, but the colonel said he had heard that I had done excellent work, and he laughed and said, 'There's good stuff in that man,' and told me not to leave any more without orders. Well, John, there'll always be trouble here with the natives unless they annihilate all of them as fast as they come to them." Leonard F. Adams of Ozark, the Washington Regiment. "I don't know how many men, women, and children the Tennessee boys did kill. They would not take any prisoners. One company of the Tennessee boys was sent into headquarters with 30 prisoners and got there with about 100 chickens and no prisoners." Elliot G. Davis, Company A, 20th Kansas. "They will never surrender until their whole race is exterminated. They are fighting for a good cause, and the Americans should be last of all nations to transgress upon such rights. Their independence is dearer to them than life, as ours was in years gone by, and is today. They should have their independence, and would have had it if those who make the laws in America had not been so slow in deciding the Philippine question. Of course we have to fight now to protect the honor of our country, but there is not a man who enlisted to fight these people, and should the United States annex these islands, none but the most bloodthirsty will claim himself a hero. This is not a lack of patriotism." J. E. Federley, a Nebraska soldier. "Some think the insurgents are disheartened, but I think they will make a desperate struggle for what they consider their rights. I do not approve of the course our government is pursuing with these people. If all men are created equal, they have some rights which ought to be respected."